back in 1985, when I think when we really got this airport going, all the environmental studies were done to try to determine what was the safest flight pattern and the least environmentally impact. And this was the flight pattern that was, well, you're supposed to be doing that. Okay. I'm going to fire you in a minute. Okay. Okay. But no, this is serious because that was it. But you can see what happened. Mar-a-Lago happens to be in that flight pattern, and correct. And when President Trump was president the first time, and this time, whenever he's at Mar-a-Lago, for a long time, the planes were restricted, could not go that way, and we understood why. Something happened, obviously. Things have gotten a lot more dangerous. And so the Secret Service, I can tell you this now, the Secret Service has determined that it's a very dangerous situation for really. This is a dangerous situation, Mar-a-Lago and the community. So now the flight restrictions are permanent. And I was told they may be forever. Okay, so, but here's the thing. I'm not fighting that. That's above my pay grade. We could ask the sheriff over there, right? I'm going along with the Secret Service now because I don't really know. But let's assume they're correct. So here's what happened. They asked the FAA to change the flight patterns. The FAA, without any hearings or talking to our airport, just changed it. Show it what they did. Okay, so all the flights have to go in and out over this neighborhood here. Every 90 seconds from morning to night, these planes are going over the same homes. And so what I think it went from about 5,000 homes to 20,000. So this was like 5,000 homes. Now it's 20,000 homes, schools and businesses. And guess what? The airport has had more than 6,000 complaints because the noise is unbelievable. I have been out there. So I said to the airport, could you have some suggestions to FAA on maybe not to go over here, but maybe you can fly that way or you can fly that way. I'm not a pilot, but they do have some suggestions. They would like to talk to the FAA. I have asked the FAA at least 11 times, by call, by letter. Now, Mr. Diaz-Balart, you will tell anyone I'm a very nice person to work with. Is that correct? You will say that, right? Okay. Right. So we tried very hard. I went to the Transportation Committee, and the thing is, we've been very patient. I figured it would just be temporary, but I've been told really as of about a week ago, this is not temporary. All I'm asking, this is not a lot, was for the FAA to please just sit down with my airport officials and consult with, see if there's any other ideas of any other way to go, right? Mark has some ideas. That's the whole. Now, and why am I doing this today? This is like the cherry on the icing, or whatever you call it, the cherry on the whipped cream. So I wrote not only we've been calling, begging, I wrote a letter back in February with this request. And you know when they responded to the letter? Today, I get a letter back. And what does this letter say? You want to talk about insult to injury? What did this letter say? Where is my letter? I'm over. Okay, anyway, the letter said we're reviewing your request. Really, and we'll consider it and get back to you. This is not the way government should work. It's really an embarrassment. But most importantly, I have lots of residents who really have had their quality of life impacted, and I'd like to figure out a way. So, Mr. Womack, I'm please asking you to help me.
I think that could have been done a little more concisely.
Gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Warmack, is recognized to respond to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the gentlelady. And 10 minutes ago, I was willing to accept this. But my. And the last thing I would say, because we are going to accept it, the last thing I will say is to my friend Mark Pocan. In your next life, you would make an excellent addition to Let's Make a Deal. Standing in front of whatever curtain out there. Or Wheel of Fortune. Mr. Chairman, I yield back. We accept.
The gentleman has accepted the amendment, but does the gentleman from South Carolina still wish to address it? No. This is what happens when these things go too long. If there's no further debate, the gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute to close.
I just thank you for your consideration, and I just say, let's go for it. No roll call, just a voice vote.
Well, we will, since it's been accepted, I don't think we need to go through a vote.
Okay, thank you.
So
It's
the
accepted. We
amendment
don't need a
is
vote.
adopted. Okay, gentleman from New York, Mr. Loloda, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk, and I ask unanimous consent that the reading be waived.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to support an amendment asking for additional funding for the modernization of the United States Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point. While I intend to withdraw the amendment today because there's not yet an acceptable offset, our committee must recognize the magnitude of the challenge facing this critical institution. The midshipmen we nominate to Kings Point and who ultimately graduate to serve aboard commercial vessels and provide vital sea lift capacity during national emergencies and military conflicts should not be preparing for those complex missions and facilities that are falling behind the mission itself. This committee has made an important investment in the Academy's capital improvement program, and I appreciate that support, but we should be honest. A $100 million installment will not resolve a campus-wide modernization challenge that has accumulated over generations. Delaying necessary work only increases costs, prolongs temporary fixes, and burdens taxpayers in the long run. Kings Point is a national asset. Its graduates serve our country in peace and in war, and if we are serious about maritime readiness, and I know that we all are, strategic sea lift, and American competitiveness, we must also be serious about providing these future officers with the infrastructure they deserve. I urge the committee to continue working toward a long-term solution worthy of Kings Point's mission, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Gentleman has withdrawn his amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I wish to withdraw it.
Okay, we do have a number of members that wanted to speak on it very quickly. I think Mr. Rutherford did, and obviously if either the ranking member or the chairman want to speak, and I see the gentlelady from Ohio wants to speak, I would just ask, please don't yield anybody any time, okay? Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would like to just point out, I think most of us agree that one of the most exciting parts of this job is actually nominating high school students to attend our military academies. I know I've met many top-tier students who are eager to serve their nation, and I'm especially impressed by the young men and women who choose to attend the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. These students are the future of our military and maritime workforce, but when they arrive at this academy, in the academy in Kings Point, New York, it is shocking to see the conditions on this campus. Students are greeted by HVAC systems that are broken, inoperable smoke detectors, no heat in their housing, unreliable hot water, dilapidated athletic fields, and students eating on paper plates because the dishwasher was broken long-term. I even hear from students' parents concerned about the condition of the campus. And I can tell you, when Secretary Duffy came before our committee this year, he agreed that the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy needed significant investment to fix the campus and return it to the level that our best and brightest deserve. I want to ask the whole committee, and the reason I'm taking this time is because I want this whole committee to hear what we heard just in transportation, housing, and urban development. It is atrocious. And it's going to take this whole committee of appropriations to get behind the chairman here and do what needs to be done at Kings Point. And I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank gentleman. Gentlelady from Ohio wanted to address the issue. She's recognized to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief and just compliment Congressman Alota for offering this amendment and bringing up the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. Those of us in the Great Lakes understand its importance. You're the first member on your side I ever met who really cared. Know you have a partner on this side when it comes to the Merchant Marine, whether it's there at Kings Point, whether it's in Traverse City, or down where I live, where we don't. We want to work with that academy much more, Kings Point, and it's really, it needs a hard look. So know you have somebody on this side that cares as well. Thank you for offering your amendment.
Thank the gentlelady. Obviously, no action is required because the amendment's been withdrawn. So we will move along. Gentlelady from California, Ms. Torres, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to offer an amendment and ask that the reading be dispensed with.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The gentlelady is recognized for remarks on her amendment.
Chairman, my amendment would provide $9.9 billion in disaster recovery assistance for HUD's disaster recovery program and $113 million for DOT's emergency relief programs to help every state, tribe, and territory with major disaster declarations in 2025 and 2026, including my home state of California. HUD's CDBG Disaster Recovery Program is one of the key programs for long-term recovery, providing flexible grants to state and local governments to rebuild homes and economies. DOT's highways and public transportation emergency relief programs help to rebuild roads and transportation infrastructure that families and businesses rely on. It is shameful that the White House has failed to help Americans in need while continuing to take our hard-earned tax dollars. For California, it has been over 1.5 years since the January 2025 LA fires. The wildfires last January displaced over 100,000 Californians and destroyed more than 13,000 homes and properties. Independent estimates place total economic damage up to $275 billion, far exceeding what insurance can cover. The first step usually is the White House submitting a supplemental request to our committee, but not a single step or action has been taken by the Trump administration. A month ago, during a committee hearing, I asked Housing Secretary Turner when the administration was going to submit a request. Unfortunately, he did not have an answer. Families have lost their homes, schools, churches, and businesses, their entire livelihoods. California's initial request was over a year ago, and the administration has not made not a single request for the over $34 billion our state needs. In past administrations, when disaster strikes, regardless of politics, Americans could rely on the federal government to provide the help needed. Today, that process is mired in political grandstanding. And to be clear, my amendment is not limited to California. Every state with a declared disaster would be eligible. And why is that? because there has also not been a single administration supplemental request for over 30 states, tribes, and territories with major disaster declarations. The only supplemental funding this administration cares about is for President Trump's illegal war in Iran. If this administration refuses to help Americans, then this committee must step up. 22 of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle represent states with major disaster declarations whose residents need your help right now. These are not partisan issues. When Hurricane Harvey hit Texas in 2017, I voted twice to fund disaster aid for Texas and other states, which President Trump signed into law. Not a single Democrat voted against these bills. When Hurricane Helene and Milton hit the Southeast in 2024, President Biden worked with this committee to pass $100 billion in aid. Again, not a single Democrat voted against it. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. The gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Womack, is recognized to respond to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to oppose the amendment. First and foremost, as we've said many times tonight, I can't support it because it exceeds our allocation. If adopted, it would prevent the bill from going to the floor. Additionally, this includes emergency funding that is normally allocated in supplementals. I look forward to working with the gentlelady on this funding through the proper process in the future. And with that, I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Clyburn, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of this amendment. In 2025, 2026, we have been seeing numerous communities devastated by disasters across the country, from wildfires to tornadoes and flooding in red and blue states alike. In my own home state of South Carolina, we experienced severe storms across Greenville, Oconee, and Pickens counties, where we don't usually get those kinds of storms. That was in 2025, as we were still trying to rebuild from Hurricane Helene, which devastated many parts of the state in 2024. And just this morning, I received notice that earthquakes were detected in and around Columbia, South Carolina, in my district. Something is happening, and our communities should not be left to battle these issues on our own. So I'm not going to debate what's causing it. All I know, there's some unusual weather patterns taking place, and it's causing some unusual things. And there is a prediction that the earthquake of Charleston of 1886 may be in the offering sometime in the near future. So we ought to really do what is necessary to prepare to help these communities when these kinds of things have happened, and I would hope that we would approve this amendment, and now you're back.
Thank you, gentlemen. The gentleman from California, Mr. Levin, is recognized to address the amendment.
And I promise to be brief here. We had a chance right after the wildfires in California, in LA, to go visit, at least with a few of you in this room, on a bipartisan basis. And it was horrible. It was the worst thing I've seen domestically in terms of a natural disaster in the United States. It looked like a war zone. And, you know, you had thousands and thousands of homes destroyed. You had 200,000 people have to evacuate. You had 31 people who died, and then hundreds more that died in the aftermath. The reality is it could have happened in any one of our districts, not just in California, but in many other states around the country. And I think the scale of destruction is really impossible to grasp without seeing it firsthand. So now we've had about a year and a half since then. And the reality is exactly what Mr. Clyburn said. We've got natural disasters getting stronger, deadlier, and more frequent all across the country. And they don't just strike on the blue states or strike on the red states. They hit close to home for everybody here. And if they haven't, they may sometime soon. When these disasters strike, affected communities cannot wait around for Congress to slow walk relief. People all across this country deserve to know that when disaster strikes, we have their backs. And that means providing them with the federal aid they need to recover, repair, and rebuild. So I was unbelievably upset last year when there were those who wanted to attach political conditions to emergency wildfire aid, like raising the debt ceiling, and people had other ideas too. Just want to say it's downright wrong to use the suffering of any single American to play political games. Full stop. That's not what we do as Americans. That's not what we should ever do. And it's downright shameful that here we are, 18 months has gone by, and we still haven't passed a dime of disaster relief for the folks in Los Angeles who need it. That's outrageous. Say it isn't a handout. It is a promise that every single person here in your district should feel confident that when your residents, your constituents are facing hardship far greater than what they can shoulder on their own, that this Congress will stand with them. That's it. It shouldn't be that hard. So I support Ms. Torres' amendment, and I hope that regardless of whether it's the proper procedure or not, for God's sake, 18 months and not a dime of relief. That's disgraceful. I'll yield back.
Are there any other members wishing to address the amendment? Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be brief as well. And I just want to echo what Mr. Levin said, and I support my colleague Ms. Torres' amendment. I know this violates the fake allocations that we have approved, and this may not be the proper process, but each of us here has a voice and has an opportunity to weigh in. And I have toured some of the devastation with some of you on the other side of the aisle. And it is time, it is well past time that we use whatever tools possible and whatever megaphones we have to tell the administration that they need to deliver this aid. I have voted, as all of my colleagues here on this side of the aisle have voted, for aid and assistance to Texas and North Carolina and Florida. And I will tell you, I do not want to look at states differently when it comes to disasters. But it is really, really hard not to think that we may, in the future, look at things differently because of the politics of how this is being treated. And it's unfair, and it's wrong. And I agree with Mr. Levin that our constituents deserve to know that whether you are in a red state or a blue state, if you need help and assistance, and if you suffer from a declared disaster, you get the help that you need. But this body collectively has not done that, and we have not used our voices to push that. We have asked for defense supplementals in public, but we have not asked for emergency supplementals for this aid, and I just don't know why. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute to close.
Chairman, I have always supported disaster aid, and so have many of you in this room. Americans should help their fellow Americans. It is long past time that we pass disaster aid for the LA wildfires and other natural disasters. If you're not going to give the aid that California needs to recover in this area, then at the very least, you should allow California to keep its $283 billion that it paid in federal taxes last year. Mr. Chairman, I look forward to working with you moving forward to ensure that we continue to move in a bipartisan way to assist communities that suffer to the extent that these 30 states and my home state of California has suffered. And with that, I yield back to the chair.
Thank you, gentlelady. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentlelady from California. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. Roll call has been requested. Sufficient support has been demonstrated. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt. Mr. Adderholt, no. Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Aguilar, aye. Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford, no. Mr. Amadei. Mr. Amadei, no. Mrs. Bice. Mrs. Bice, no. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, aye. Mr. Calvert. Mr. Calvert, no. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, no. Mr. Case. Mr. Case, aye. Mr. Siscomani. Mr. Siscomani, no. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, no. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud, no. Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, aye. Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, no. Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, no. Mr. Cuellar. Mr. Cuellar, aye. Ms. Dean. Ms. Dean, aye. Ms. DeLauro. Ms. DeLauro, aye. Mr. Diaz-Balart. Mr. Diaz-Balart, no. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, no. Mr. Elzey. Mr. Elzey, no. Ms. Escobar. Ms. Escobar, aye. Mr. Espaillat. Mr. Espaillat, aye. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman, no. Mr. Frankel. Ms. Frankel, aye. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, no. Mr. Guest. Mr. Guest, no. Mr. Harder. Mr. Harder, aye. Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, no. Mrs. Hinson. Mrs. Hinson, no. Mr. Hoyer. Mr. Hoyer, aye. Mr. Ivy. Mr. Ivy, aye. Mr. Joyce. Mr. Joyce, no. Ms. Capter. Ms. Capter, aye. Mr. Lalota. Mr. Lalota, no. Ms. Lee. Ms. Letlow. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, aye. Ms. Malloy. Ms. Malloy, no. Ms. McCullum. Ms. Ming. Ms. Ming, aye. Mr. Molinar. Mr. Molinar, no. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, no. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Morelli, aye. Mr. Mervan. Mr. Mervan, aye. Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Newhouse, no. Ms. Perez. Ms. Perez, aye. Ms. Pingree. Ms. Pingree, aye. Mr. Pocan. Mr. Pocan, aye. Mr. Quigley. Mr. Quigley, aye. Mr. Reschenthaler. Mr. Reschenthaler, no. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, no. Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford, no. Mr. Shreve. Mr. Shreve, no. Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson, no. Mr. Strong. Mr. Strong, no. Mrs. Torres. Mrs. Torres, aye. Miss Underwood. Miss Underwood, aye. Mr. Valadeo. Mr. Valadeo, no. Miss Wasserman Schultz. Miss Wasserman Schultz, aye. Mrs. Watson Coleman. Mrs. Watson Coleman, aye. Mr. Womack. Mr. Womack, no. Mr. Zinke. Mr. Zinke, no.
Are there any members wishing to vote or change their vote? Seeing none? Oh, sorry. Gentlelady from Nevada.
Ms. Lee votes aye.
Are there any other members wishing to vote or change their vote? Seeing none, the clerk will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 27, the noes are 34. The amendment is not adopted. Gentleman from New York, Mr. Espaillat, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment on the desk and ask unanimous consent to dispense the reading of it.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman's recognized to make remarks on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, earlier this year, HUD released a rule that would force mixed status families from choosing between staying in a HUD-assisted housing or basically separating them. This change in policy will rip families apart. Nearly 80,000 people could lose assistance and 37,000 children most of whom are citizens, will be disproportionately harmed by this policy. Despite talking points from the other side, ineligible non-citizens do not receive housing assistance. This policy change is yet another attack on the immigrant community and tries to solve a problem that doesn't really exist. Congress' intent in the Housing Community Development Act of 1980 was to keep families together. In the report accompanying the legislation, Congress stated that it would be an injustice if families were evicted simply because some member could not meet documentation requirement. We are in an affordable housing crisis. We should be making it easier for families to find housing, not harder. By HUD's own definition and admission, this change could mean housing providers are spending up to $6 million to comply and will result in fewer housing units available. This rule is not sound policy. This will harm citizens and non-citizens alike. It would impact every district, particularly children. When I asked Secretary Turner whether HUD had a responsibility to keep families housed and together, he could not really provide an answer. Well, I have an answer. When Congress originally passed this legislation, they had an answer. We have an obligation to preserve family unity. For that reason, Mr. Chairman, I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman for his amendment. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized to respond to the amendment.
I thank the chairman, and to my friend, Mr. Espiat, our side is prepared to accept the report language as submitted. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Well, gentleman from South Carolina is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of this amendment, and I thank the chair for his willingness to accept it. This amendment is very simple. It's just language that says to ensure that American citizens and lawful residents who are legally eligible for HUD assistance are not evicted from their homes. Whatever our different views may be, I don't think any of us are here to allow the eviction of Americans from housing assistance for which they qualify. I hope my colleagues on both sides of the aisle can support this amendment, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Is there further debate on the amendment? Gentleman seek recognition?
Yes.
Gentleman's recognized to discuss the amendment.
Thank you. I don't think that the United States has any responsibility whatsoever to house illegal aliens. I just don't think there's a right there anywhere. So I don't see how that's even a possibility, that there's a right from illegal aliens, whether they're part of a family or not, all right, to actually to be in subsidized housing. I mean, when a family member does something illegal, they're taken and they're put in prison, and that breaks up the family. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is, and we do that to American citizens. So how would we allow illegal aliens greater rights than American citizens? And I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute to close.
Chairman, I also want to thank the chairman for considering adopting this amendment. It's a common sense amendment that calls for someone, for example, with a green card that's here legally to be able to stay with their families and would not be evicted from their children and their spouses. This is important, particularly as the nation faces homelessness crisis, an unprecedented crisis at that, across the country, not just any particular state. This will keep families together. It is very much consistent with family values that are often highlighted in this body. And I thank all the members for being consistent with that and supporting this amendment, and particularly the chairman for considering its adoption. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from New York. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And recorded vote's been requested. Is there a sufficient number of hands? Seeing none, the amendment is adopted. It's been brought to my attention that although the Frankel Amendment was accepted, we did not actually do a formal vote. So we should actually, so there's no question about this, to clarify, actually have a formal vote of the committee by voice on the Frankel Amendment. So any of you that can remember exactly what it was, I'm going to ask you.
Mr. Chairman, I would prefer that she stand back up and Mark get the deal back up so we can do a photo op. Do you need a motion to reconsider so that we can take a formal vote? Matt, would that help?
Yeah, it would.
I move to reconsider the Frankel Amendment on temporary flight restriction notification requirement.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The amendment's accepted. What?
That was the motion to reconsider.
Oh, that was actually the motion to bring it back up, so you now actually have to form, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The amendment's accepted. I apologize. Gentleman from New York, Mr. Espiat's recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
Chairman, it's particularly rewarding to bring this last amendment to the floor, particularly since the Knicks won tonight in their opening game in San Antonio. I hope none of the Texas members will vote against this amendment. But on both sides of the aisle, I made that. But I have an amendment at the desk, and I ask to dispense the reading of it.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment will prohibit funds from being used to design, implement, or administer a program that will redirect, cut, or impede international flight service to domestic airports due to local non-transportation related policy decisions. Earlier this month, DHS Secretary Mullen expressed interest in removing custom workers at airports in the Democratic-run states and redirecting international flights to other airports. Now, imagine that. We have the World Cup that just started, and we have the Olympics and other internationally worthy events that will draw tourism to the United States, travelers, and this particular policy will dramatically impact and negatively impact those events. In fact, it is mind-boggling that international flights will be redirected to other airports in other states. I would presume that many travelers will decide not to come to the United States because of that. This proposed policy will be a logistical nightmare and hurt not only the cities the airports reside in, but anyone who plans to travel by air. Anyone here can attest to the compounding chaos a single delayed or a reroute flight can cost. So this will impact not just the traveler that's coming from another country, it will impact the entire nation, people traveling domestically as well. This change will not be for any logical reason. This policy change will be used as a tactic against so-called sanctuary cities and policies. Last year at New York Liberty International, an airport that will be impacted, we have more than 100,000 international aircraft movements. So cities like New York and LA and all the major cities in the states across the nation see thousands upon thousands of international flights. This policy will create chaos everywhere. The story of this proposal initially broke during our recent oversight hearing with Secretary Duffy when I asked him for his position on this, and the Secretary stated clearly opposing it. FAA Administrator Beffer has also publicly indicated that he does not support the proposal, as has the U.S. Travel Association and nearly 24 other industry groups. I asked Secretary Turner I asked Secretary Administrator Beffer also where he stood on it. So, Mr. Chairman, I would ask for the body to and this committee to consider a common sense and practical amendment that will, of course, help our nation economically in terms of tourism and making sure we don't have general havoc at all of our airports. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Womack, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in opposition to Mr. Espaillat's amendment. While I understand the issue as a technical matter, I don't believe this is appropriate for this bill. Decisions about international passenger or cargo air service or international flight processing related to Homeland Security issues are made upstream from the FAA by the White House and by DHS. Further, I don't believe we should be using the THUD Appropriations bill to do an end run around the administration's decision-making process. Accordingly, I'll be voting no on the amendment. I encourage my colleagues to do the same. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of this amendment. Secretary Mullins' proposal to pull Customs and Border Protection personnel from Newark would cause unnecessary chaos across the country and internationally. It would essentially close major metropolitan airports to international travelers, disrupt cargo shipments, and the global supply chains. It is a reckless proposal made seemingly without a complete understanding of how complicated the national airspace is. I'm pleased to see that Secretary Duffy, at least to date, has pushed back on such a proposal. At a May hearing with the House Budget Committee, Secretary Duffy said we should not shut down air travel in a state that does not agree with our policies, end of quote. It is this committee's job to ensure that DOT and FAA have the resources they need for safety and reliability. Using international airports as a pawn for politics or as retribution for immigration-related messaging will be irresponsible, chaotic, and economically devastating. I support my colleague's amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman for his remarks. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute to close.
And as I said earlier, this will impact passenger travel, but it will also impact cargo air service. So this is really mind-boggling that this proposal is being pushed by Secretary Mullen. In fact, despite pushback from relevant agencies, there is no sign of support for it from the White House. Secretary Mullen continues to speak publicly about it, but we haven't seen anybody at the Department of Transportation or even the White House support this proposal. And we would really become the laughingstock of the world if we begin to shift international passenger travelers to other cities and other states, rather. And if, in addition to that, if cargo air service is jeopardized dramatically, impacted dramatically by this proposed policy, we will really be become the laughingstock and hurt our economy directly. So I urge this amendment to be adopted.
Thank the gentleman. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from New York. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. A roll call has been requested. Sufficient support has been demonstrated. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt. Mr. Adderholt, no. Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Aguilar, aye. Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford, no. Mr. Amade. Mr. Amade, no. Mrs. Bice. Mrs. Bice, no. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, aye. Mr. Calvert. Mr. Calvert, no. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, no. Mr. Case. Mr. Case, aye. Mr. Siscomani. Mr. Siscomani, no. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, no. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud, no. Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, aye. Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, no. Mr. Cole.
No.
Mr. Cole, no. Mr. Cuellar. Mr. Cuellar, aye. Ms. Dean. Ms. Dean, aye. Mr. Loro. Mr. Loro, aye. Mr. Diaz-Balart. Mr. Diaz-Balart, no. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, no. Mr. Elzey. Mr. Elzey, no. Ms. Escobar. Ms. Escobar, aye. Mr. Espaillat. Mr. Espaillat, aye. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman, no. Ms. Frankel. Ms. Frankel, aye. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, no. Mr. Guest. Mr. Guest, no. Mr. Harder. Mr. Harder, aye. Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, no. Mrs. Henson. Mrs. Henson, no. Mr. Hoyer. Mr. Hoyer, aye. Mr. Ivy. Mr. Ivy, aye. Mr. Joyce. Mr. Joyce. Mr. Joyce, no. Ms. Captor. Ms. Captor, aye. Mr. Lalota. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee, aye. Ms. Letlow. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, aye. Ms. Malloy. Ms. Malloy, no. Ms. McCullum. Ms. Ming. Ms. Ming, aye. Mr. Molinar. Mr. Molinar, no. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, no. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Morelli, aye. Mr. Mervan. Mr. Mervan, aye. Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Newhouse, no. Ms. Perez. Ms. Perez, aye. Ms. Pingree. Ms. Pingree, aye. Mr. Pocan. Mr. Pocan, aye. Mr. Quigley. Mr. Quigley, aye. Mr. Reschenthaler. Mr. Reschenthaler, no. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, no. Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford, no. Mr. Shreve. Mr. Shreve, no. Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson, no. Mr. Strong. Mr. Strong, no. Mrs. Torres. Mrs. Torres, aye. Miss Underwood. Miss Underwood, aye. Mr. Valadeo. Mr. Valadeo, no. Ms. Wasserman Schultz. Ms. Wasserman Schultz, aye. Mrs. Watson Coleman. Mrs. Watson Coleman, aye. Mr. Womack. No. Mr. Womack, no. Mr. Zinke. Mr. Zinke, no.
Are there any members wishing to vote or to change their vote? Seeing that none, the clerk will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 27, the noes are 33. The amendment is not adopted.
Before you do this, can I make a quick quick announcement.
That-
To all of my colleagues on the dais, the collection of jams and jellies were on the tables, none up here, so please make yourself welcome to the ones that are remaining on the table. For those of you, Stenny's already stole some, I see.
Yes, sir.
So, anyway, and
And
so is Mike
gentlelady-
Simpson, so I'm finished.
Gentlelady with Florida was asked to. Hey! I mean, I don't know. Do you want the Boehner birthday song, or is that like? Of course. Okay. All right. This is your birthday song. It doesn't last too long. Hey!
One more administrative announcement.
Uh,
One more administrative announcement. I am told, where the heck is that message? Lobby 1 will be open till 1 o'clock in the morning, and then that's, Lobby 1 will be open till 1 a.m. Lobby 8 is, of course, 24/7. So if you,
Where the hell is lobby?
Lobby 1 is the parking lot where my car is.
Was that G3?
That's G3 all the way down and then out one side. And I can't remember which side it is, but that's Lobby 1.
All right. Can I have your attention, please, just very quickly, 2 or 3 quick things, and then we'll ask Chairman Rogers to make his motion. Number 1, I think you ought to give Ms. Pingree and Mr. Simpson a round of applause for a great food, particularly the blueberry pie, but it was all good. Second, I would just thank all of you. It was a very long day. I appreciate the manner in which all of you dealt with the business we had to do and just worked through it, and sorry to keep you this late. Third, this is just a personal observation. I would, and we can debate as much and as long as you want. I mean, we really can. I don't have any problem with that. You might want to think, because I saw this on both sides of the aisle, there are a number of issues we debated that I guarantee you will not be resolved in this process. So if you want to spend time doing that at length, because a couple of them were enormously lengthy on issues I think are very unlikely to be solved by this committee. But up to you. And sometimes that's part of a legitimate strategy. You raise the issue, you educate the members, nothing wrong with that. But I would just tell you, we have 3 more bills to do. I'm really incredibly proud. We have 9 done at this point, but they are our 2 biggest bills in terms of their size, defense and labor age, and probably Homeland tends to be the most complex and difficult bill in many ways. So I just lay that out there, think through what you want to do, but when we bring them up, we will stay and finish them. The only possible exception being the baseball game.
Mr. Chairman,
Gentleman's recognized.
could I make a friendly suggestion?
You certainly may.
Rather than starting at 11 o'clock or 11:30, if we'd start at 8:30 or 9, started, that's before
Problem
the
number
votes.
1 with that today would have been we have a Republican conference at 9 o'clock.
To the extent it can be done, it seems to me if we'd start earlier, we could be done at 11.
We could be done if we just talked less. Look, we had a conference at 9, and we prefer to have an hour. I think you probably do too, before we actually plunge into debates. I'm not getting us here at 6:30 in the morning. So this is really a question of how long you guys want to talk, and that's fine. And when I say you guys, I mean the whole committee. I'm not directing that at anybody or any party, and that's fine. But we are going to get the work done. Nothing happens until these bills move out of committee. And they will change once they're out of committee, as my good friend, the ranking member, knows, because there'll be a negotiation with the Senate. There'll be a lot of shifting. But nothing occurs until the bills are out, and we will get them out. And it's up to you how long you want to spend here. I enjoy the company, and I go home to an empty room anyway, so doesn't much matter than me. But I do take my friend's point seriously. If there's any way we can shorten them, we will, but I'm not going to start that early in the morning. We do that on subcommittees. to get through that process quickly. It's usually on fly-out days, so members can get out, but it's very hard to start a full committee meeting at 8:30. There's no preparation ahead of time. My members, at least, like to talk through the amendments that are likely to come. We always asked our chairman to do a presentation of the bill. It's pretty important for us in just sort of getting our act together. It may not be for my friends on the other side, but I don't want to offer misleading hope. With that, I turn to my friend, unless there's something else, I turn to my friend, the Dean of the House, recognize him for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to favorably report to the House the fiscal year 2027 Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development and related agencies appropriations bill.
Questions now on the motion to favorably report the fiscal year 2027 Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development and related agencies appropriations bill to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Roll call has been requested. Sufficient support has been demonstrated. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt. Mr. Adderholt, aye. Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Aguilar, no. Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford, aye. Mr. Amade. Mr. Amade, aye. Mrs. Bice. Mrs. Bice, aye. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, no. Mr. Calvert. Mr. Calvert, aye. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, aye. Mr. Case. Mr. Case, no. Mr. Siscomani. Mr. Siscomani, aye. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, aye. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud, aye. Mr. Clyburn. No. Mr. Clyburn, no. Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, aye. Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Cole, aye. Mr. Cuellar. Mr. Cuellar, no. Miss Dean. Miss Dean, no. Mr. Loro. Mr. Loro, no. Mr. Diaz-Balart. Mr. Diaz-Balart, aye. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, aye. Mr. Elzy. Mr. Elzy, aye. Miss Escobar. Miss Escobar, no. Mr. Espaillat. Mr. Espaillat, no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman, aye. Miss Frankel. Miss Frankel, no. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, aye. Mr. Guest. Mr. Guest, aye. Mr. Harder. Mr. Harder, no. Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, aye. Mrs. Hinson. Mrs. Hinson, aye. Mr. Hoyer.
No.
Mr. Hoyer, no. Mr. Ivy. Mr. Ivy, no. Mr. Joyce. Mr. Joyce, aye. Miss Captor. Miss Captor.
No.
Miss Captor, no. Mr. Lalota. Mr. Lalota, aye. Miss Lee. Miss Lee, no. Miss Letlow. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, no. Miss Malloy. Miss Malloy, aye. Miss McCullum. Miss Ming. Miss Ming, no. Mr. Molinar. Mr. Molinar, aye. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, aye. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Morelli, no. Mr. Mervan. Mr. Mervan, no. Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Newhouse.
Good idea.
Mr. Newhouse, aye. Miss Perez. Miss Perez, no. Miss Pingree. Miss Pingree, no. Mr. Pocan. Mr. Pocan, no. Mr. Quigley. Mr. Quigley, no. Mr. Reschenthaler. Mr. Reschenthaler, aye. Mr. Rogers. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, aye. Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford, aye. Mr. Shreve. Mr. Shreve, aye. Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson, aye. Mr. Strong. Mr. Strong, aye. Mrs. Torres. Mrs. Torres, no. Miss Underwood. Miss Underwood, no. Mr. Valadeo. Mr. Valadeo, aye. Miss Wasserman Schultz. Miss Wasserman Schultz, no. Mrs. Watson Coleman. Mrs. Watson Coleman, no. Mr. Womack. Mr. Womack, aye. Mr. Zinke. Mr. Zinke, aye.
Are there any members wishing to vote or change their vote? And if you're out there, you're going to have to wave a hand because we obviously have a lot of people moving. Seeing none, the clerk will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 34, the noes are 27. The motion is agreed to. I ask unanimous consent that staff be permitted to make technical and conforming changes to the bill and a report just approved. 3 days. Seeing no objection, so ordered, and again, without objection, so ordered on the 3 days. There being no further business, the committee stands adjourned.